Okay, welcome to week 13 of FINA 1031. We're actually in the home stretch, so on we go. Okay, as you're probably well aware, the project is due this for coming Friday night. The exam we've set up for a week Thursday, 8 o'clock. Same format as last time, different questions, of course, and more of a focus on the last few weeks. And also I'll have a practice exam popping up Sunday night. Okay, this week we're going to look at capital budgeting and related ideas. Capital budgeting, remember when we talk about capital, we're talking about long-term investments or assets. The whole idea of this is that we have to save up money, maybe if we're a small company, well, most companies do anyway, to buy something big. Okay, maybe it's a computer system, vehicle, equipment, warehouse, whatever the case may be. Maybe like in your project, buy a new roof. And even if we start a new company, that's considered capital budgeting. Okay, the idea is it's a project or an asset that's going to last more than 12 months, that we're going to invest, have our money tied up, and hopefully realize better revenue or better profits because of that investment. Now, in the business world, there are people who actually do this for a full-time job for corporations. The whole thing can get quite complicated. Capital budgeting focuses on the amounts of money you're going to invest and the timing of the investments, or the cash flows, maybe is a better use of the term, and costs and benefits derived from these cash flows. Okay. Usually when we talk about these sorts of investments, they're large cash outflows. So even if we buy, for instance, a vehicle, we might have to put 10 or 20% down as a way of getting the vehicle. Now, in some cases, we can get a lease, slightly different piece of work. Often, though, there's still a good component tied up. One of my customers actually got a gravel truck. The truck was $200,000. He had to put $30,000 down just to get a lease on the truck. Sometimes we need a bigger piece of equipment. Sometimes we're going to build a building. Whatever the case may be, we still have to put down a piece of money to make it happen. And when we buy these things or engage in, sometimes it's a project, we only look at the cash flows that are going to be a result of these things. Okay, so typically when we invest, for instance, in a truck, the idea is we're going to generate some revenue. Okay, maybe we're going to buy a new truck to replace an old truck. So in this case, we'd look at whether we're going to do some more business because of this new truck, additional types of business, or whatever the case may be. And we would look at the new cash flow from that. Plus, older trucks take up a lot of maintenance, and they're not as fuel efficient, on and on and on. So we're going to save some money from that. The savings can be considered a cash flow because we're not spending that money. So when we go and invest in the new truck, there's two lines of thoughts: additional money coming in because of the newer technology, and less money going out, again because of the new technology. And in the case of replacement buying, we're talking about maybe even some new revenue because we're able to do different or newer kinds of business. So all these cash flows are focusing around capital budgeting. Okay. Again, in the big world, these cash flows are calculated after tax. We'll talk about that in a bit. But for the art of conservatism, we're going to keep it simple and just do some of the calculations really down and dirty sort of thing, and not worry about some of the tax details involved. Now, in bigger companies, this might you might pay somebody full time to do this sort of thing, this sort of analysis. And the thing we would be looking at, though, is this tax involvement would save, in some cases, millions of dollars. For a small business, typically not that much money, so we're going to ignore it in this course. Okay, so a a bit of quick review here. Companies require money to invest in assets, and we call that money capital, especially if it's long term. Okay. We can acquire money or capital in three ways. First of all, by taking on a loan, either from a bank or a person, a shareholder, whatever the case may be. We can issue, or when we issue, by the way, that's another word for selling, stock or shares to somebody in the company or somebody outside the company. And we can also get, if we've been in business for a while, capital or money from having profits, okay, from actually running the business. Three ways of getting capital. Now, when we talk about cost of capital, we have to remind ourselves that banks require a return on their loans. Okay, they rent us the money. This is called interest. Shareholders, most shareholders, except maybe for mom and dad, want something back in return as well. Okay, they want some sort of increase in value or cash flow in their pocket, or some sort of benefit for investing in your company. Maybe maybe they're happy with bragging rights, but a lot of times they want a little more. Okay, so this is the sort of thing we have to consider. They want a return on their loans. Okay, if they do loan the company money, but they also want a return on their investment. Otherwise, why do it? Saying this another way, of course, both the banks and shareholders can be considered investors. Both of them are concerned with risk. Okay, the greater the risk, of course, and we've already mentioned this, the greater the rental fee or the return on the investment, or the rental fee on the money that's involved. Okay, that's known as the cost of the money or the cost of the capital. If you want investors, for the most part, other than mom and dad, they're going to want something back. Else they're going to say, well, gee, it's all fun and games, but really, I want some return on my investment. That's only fair. Okay, so this is what we're concerned about today. We want to talk about the cost of these two parties, the cost of the money and the impact on the company.